let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the
white
black
culture
home. Let's
Stop.
Who do we vote for?
To a radical,
Excuse me,
not a
sister,
Democrat.
but
The
I have
radical
to
mind
post
state
this. It is
simply
very important.
is living
Thank
opposite
you.
to
Amanda
our colonizers,
Seals.
which
Subscribe
is
to
an
Wrestling
imperialist
with Racism
capitalist
educational
mind state,
purpose.
and
TikTok,
radical blacks do
Facebook,
not believe that is
Instagram,
any way for us to
fan
live.
base,
Well, here's what you
Spotify,
keep doing.
Rumble,
You keep interrupting me when
Patreon,
I'm
and
talking,
at 9
you
Crackers
don't
That
hear
Out.
the point that
On
I'm
Twitter
gonna make.
X,
And yet
where
you
you
want
can
me to
find
respect your point.
more
And that's not how a
white
debate works.
truths.
I show you respect.
Enjoy
Give
the
me
program.
respect back. Ooh, I knew I was going to be surrounded by
It
ignorance.
is important
Damn.
for all
Let's
American
go.
Negroes to
Greetings.
see
I'm
this
Amanda Seals,
masterclass.
widely known as a comedian, an actress, a disruptor, an annoying person on the internet who always tells the truth. And I am now an artistic intellectual who commits myself to making art that educates. And today, I am surrounded by 20 black conservatives. My first claim is it is undeniable that reparations are just and necessary.
All right, reparations, fair, necessary. My question would be, who's going to get it? Why would they get it? And how long are we going to sit here focusing on trying to get reparations? It's been how many years since slavery? 150 years, 1865? Whenever there's a real thing that this country wants to do, they do it. Stop Asian hate. Okay, there's a problem with the Asian hate. Let's draft a bill, sign it, and it's done. Anything that needs to be done is done. With us, it's a carrot they dangle in front of us that they don't really want to do. And it's not going to help. We need education. Oh, it's not going to help. No, it's not. We need education. Getting a check from the government is not going to do that. And we need proper education. A lot of us go to these institutions where we're not really prepared, we're not really focused, and we don't get things that'll help us in the real world. So if you want to help black people, a check from the government, from our tax dollars is going to get raised, because let's be clear, everybody in here is black. We all American, we all got to pay taxes. It'll go to that. So I don't really see how this is going to help us at all.
Okay. Well, first I'll start with it will help on even just a moral level. The reality is that the United States has become very comfortable with the fact that it does not consider black people equal, and it shows that in many ways that I'm sure we will discuss over the course of today. But ultimately, there has not been a committed, concerted effort to shifting the mindset around the use of black people as a labor force in this nation back when it was slavery, now in the use of slavery as slave labor in prisons. So on a basic cultural level, reparations are an act of repair. They are an effort to say, our bad, we see you now. We have seen that done with Japanese folks who were put in internment camps. We have seen that done with Jewish folks. We have seen that done even in the case of slave owners who received reparations. When it comes to the use of tax dollars to pay reparations, and this is going to come up a lot today, it's a matter of values, right? For me, my value system circulates around the fact that I think that as a community, we should all be engaged in repair for our community. So I don't think there should be any problem with there being tax dollars spent at repairing consistent efforts that have been made to impede black people. So the reparations you're talking about are not just related to slavery. There's reparations that have been discussed all over this nation in different communities as it relates to particular massacres, as it relates to redlining and the impediment of black people to earn wealth by having property. There's been impediments in various ways that can be repaired. And I want to also just add, there's reparations that are considered a cash payment from a government. There's also the version of reparations that shows up in how funds are applicated to specific groups of people. So there's multiple ways in which what you're stating cannot happen could very well happen.
Okay, now as far as the money going towards certain things is going to help us, let's look at Baltimore Public Schools. They get, I think, the third most money per pupil in the US of A, like $15,000 per student, but yet the majority of the population that comes from that environment can't read, they're illiterate. So we're dumping money on the situation, yes, but yet we're not getting the results we should get from it. Money's not going to help the thing. We need to just focus on what we need to focus on. As far as black people being labor force of this country, what else are we doing? We got 25% of us on some kind of government assistance. 1 out of every 3 black men will go to jail. We got to do something. We got to work with our hands, work with tools, do something, because we're not doing much of anything. And also, one more piece here. Reparations, again, always dangling in front of us, never gonna happen. As long as you've been living, as long as I've been living, as long as everybody been living, they say we need it, we need it, we need it, and it never gets done. One more piece.
You just said one more piece, then you're adding
Hold
another
on,
one. So
I promise.
So hold on to it. No, hold on to it.
I'm gonna land the plane. I'm gonna land the plane. I promise. Reparations is a thing. Like I said, it's a carrot to dangle in front of us. They're never really going to get it done. And if it was going to get done, it would have already been done. It's just something that they're using to try and make us stay Democrat. That's what I wanted to say.
Well, Democrats are not doing reparations either.
They're not.
This is nonpartisan. This is black partisan, baby. Okay?
Well,
this is nonpartisan.
Who do we vote for? Who do we vote for 93% of the time? There's no incentive.
To be quite honest, you're not talking to a Democrat. You're talking to a radical.
Okay, but let's
land this plane very quickly.
Who do we vote for?
Let's land this plane quickly.
Who do we vote for?
You're talking to a radical, not a Democrat.
Okay, and you are your own person.
Let me tell you
who do we
something
vote
now.
for?
I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how we're going to get clicks, stop it now.
Oh, no.
That's not how we're going to. That's not how we're going to enter.
We having a debate.
A debate does not require continuously cutting somebody off.
Okay, no problem.
Now, I do want to state this. You're stating things as it relates to how money is not fixing a problem without acknowledging the fact that the problem doesn't exist in a vacuum and that there are so many other factors that are determining how that money is getting spent to impede it from actually fixing a problem. You can put all the money into Baltimore public schools you want, but if you are also putting all this money into policing, into communities that are not getting resources, then you are also creating your own conundrum. The other part of this is that when you're saying they, the they is a broad context. And the last part of this that I will say is that you keep saying they're dangling this in our face, they're dangling in our face. Slavery lasted for 400 years. It hasn't even been 400 years since slavery. So should we be only fighting for a quarter of the time to get repair?
All right, I'm so sorry. You've been voted out by the majority.
All right.
Please return to your seat.
Okay.
My name is Matt Nuclear.
Hello, Matt. Matt Nuclear?
Matt Nuclear, yes.
Matt Nuclear, give me a better handshake than that. Let's do it.
I appreciate having this conversation with a beautiful black woman like yourself. This is nice, beautiful arena here. I disagree that reparations are necessary. I think the most important thing that's necessary right now for the black community would be the stopping of violence, especially black on black violence. I don't see how reparations is going to solve anything. You can give everyone here like a $50,000, especially people that are in the streets who are committing violent crimes consistently, a $50,000 check. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to increase the median household income in the next 10 years by 10% or 20%. For example, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We prevented Chinese people from getting citizenship and even entering the country. We discriminated against them and basically put them under apartheid, even here in the United States. Yet they have the highest median household income. How is that possible? How come they don't complain and feel entitled consistently to beg for reparations and beg for this when they are killing each other 90% of the time, which is the rate that black people kill each other, according to the FBI?
Oh, young Matt.
Yet white people are the oppressors.
I'm not sure where your education came from, but they lied to you.
Stats don't lie, though.
Statistics lie all the time. So let's start there, particularly when the statistics are coming from the sources that gain from the statistics being shown a different way. So if you're gonna start your argument on stats don't lie, you've already lost the argument. They lie all the time. One, comparing Chinese people who are immigrants that made a choice to come to the United States and comparing the continued effort of black people to ground themselves in a nation that continues to make impediments for them to show and live and exist in their true citizenship is a false equivalency.
I don't believe that happens at all. No one here is in.
Are you
being
acting
impinged on
right now?
anything.
Do you really believe
I'm telling
this?
the truth. There's no systemic racism that I've experienced here in America. What system is racist? I think the only racism we've actually seen recently, systemic racism that we've seen, is the application of systemic racism against white people. The University of Western Washington, for example, has been trying to segregate dormitories, using black-only dormitories because black people feel safer amongst each other. But they're more likely to kill each other than white people are ever to kill them. That's just the truth. You have King Von rapping about killing other black men. Why should I think that the white man is the oppressor when black men are more likely to kill me?
Oh my God, this is scary. You need to think about me as your mama. Do not talk to me in that fashion. So let's check that now. Okay? So on a basic level, we have to understand that systemic racism is grounded in the realities that black people have not been considered an equal human being in this country since its onset. So there's simply no way to make the argument that there isn't systemic racism, and we have seen in very clear ways the system operate in an organically racist way. Do not cut me off. when we talk about systemic racism, we can start with even the fact that redlining, which was implemented to discriminate black communities. Are you shaking your head that redlining doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying I don't think it really existed at all. I mean, no, I don't think so at all.
So it does exist. And stating that it doesn't exist doesn't make it no longer exist. Redlining absolutely exists. It is not something that's being made up. It's an empirical fact. And there are realities that exist because of redlining. We know that school systems are related to the way that property taxes are affecting the school systems. If a school system is not getting the same property value as the property taxes allow it, then it's not going to have the same efficacy at allowing for students to be able to get what they deserve. When we talk about systemic racism, we have to acknowledge that these private prisons are literally built based on the test scores of school students in 3rd grade. So if you are literally building prisons with the onset of, okay, if these people are not reaching a certain reading level, then we know that they're going to go down a prison industrial pipeline where we can use their free labor, then how is that not systemic? And if you want to
stop them from entering prisons.
How are you going to stop people from entering prisons if your goal is to get them into prison?
Sure, make them try to be more like Ben Carson than be like King Von. That's very, very simple.
So how does King Von happen? How does King Von happen?
King Von
reparations.
Actually,
no, let me land the plane. Yeah. We're talking about reparations, and what you're doing is actually just trying to get this conversation off the facts. And the fact is, reparations are just and necessary because on a basic level, black people built this country, and the country continues to thrive off of the labor that black people put into this country. And it would behoove you, young man, to really understand the way that your ancestors put blood, sweat, and tears into this nation that is still living off of those blood, sweat, and tears. And let me also add, there are reparations and then there is remunerations. Do you know the difference?
Yes, but can I finish one point that I wanted to say? Ben Carson's cousins were killed at a very young age.
I'm so sorry. You've been voted out by the majority. Okay. Please return to your seat.
I hope some of y'all are acting. I really do. We in LA, and I hope some people in here are acting. Oh, what's that on your chain?
This is a coin from Israel.
Lord have mercy.
Yes, you gotta go.
That's a choice that you are making for yourself.
Yes. The thing with the whole reparations thing, and I don't know, we're probably close to the same age, so maybe you can't call me.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
I am 44.
Oh, really? Oh, you look young.
Thank you. That's what water and keeping stress out of your life will do.
Really? Mm-hmm. Liberal positions are real stressful.
By the way, I wouldn't know. I'm not a liberal. Carry on.
Well, it's the liberal position because conservatives believe in hard work. We believe in going to work and working for what you got, not asking for handouts from people who never had slaves. Some of the people that you're asking for money from never had slaves. Okay. And let's talk about the fact there were also black people that had slaves. So if you want to talk about that, how is that fair? If I'm a white person and my family fought on the side of the Union, why should I have to pay for slaves when this whole country was never all racist? Some of the founding fathers were abolitionists, and they hated slavery. And they actually put things in the Declaration of Independence and things too, because they believed that there would be a future where there would be a black president one day, or that there would be people in leadership that were black. There was people in the North who helped with the Underground Railroad and fought with the Union. So why is that fair for people who never had slaves, who fought against slavery, to have to pay for people that had slaves?
One, from my understanding, you are more interested in preserving the fairness of those who didn't have slaves than the fairness of those who are the descendants of slaves. That is priority to you than finding a fair way to accommodate those who have been the descendant of slaves.
Well, our ancestors wasn't asking for handouts. They were asking for equal opportunity. And we have equal opportunity in this country. We had a black president, just in case you didn't know. We had a black president and we had a black vice president. I think she was black. They said she was black. I don't know. So we had a black president, and you know who voted for that black man? white people, because you can't win a popular election in this country without white people. So Barack Obama is the product of white people. So let's get off this thing where, oh, America is so racist. What's making America so racist is people that continue to talk about racism and continue to focus on racism instead of focusing on unity and bringing our country forward. People that have these liberal mindset are infecting our communities, black people, and making us victims and not victors. I refuse to embrace a victim mentality, because that's not what our grandparents and Harriet Tubman and those people fought for. They fought for equal opportunity.
Do not bring up Harriet Tubman's name in vain, baby, please.
They said the Lord's name in vain. The Lord's name.
Harriet Tubman was literally saving her family and others from slavery.
Yeah. You know who helped her? White people.
You know who helped her?
They were on the Underground Railroad.
No. You know who helped her?
Come on in.
You know who helped her?
God and
people who benefit from white supremacy. One of the things
it's a lie. White supremacy is a lie.
No, sir,
it's
that's simply not true.
There's no such. I mean,
if that were not the case, then we wouldn't see the continued effort of colonialism and white people placing themselves in positions of power when they do not have the power.
Because their culture. Black culture is toxic. The black culture is toxic. We have produced a culture that is toxic. And let's get on the fact that there's no fathers in the black home. Let's talk about that.
Stop.
Let's talk about that.
Stop.
Let's talk about that.
None of this is gonna work if y'all are just gonna sit here and make up shit.
It's
not gonna work. No, a debate has to be in facts.
You're putting off emotional liberalism right now.
I am not putting off emotional liberalism. You're putting off unfounded lies based in conservatism.
Misinformation. Remember they did the misinformation thing all summer, where everything conservatives did. They said misinformation.
You're carrying a chain around your neck of an apartheid nation that actively wants to harm black people and non-Jewish people. But let me bring it back. Let me bring it back.
Selling black people in Africa.
That was not happening in the context that you're saying.
And they were selling their own people. Black people still sell their own people today too, by the way.
I don't know if I'm gonna last.
We're selling our own people today too.
I don't know if I'm gonna last.
You probably won't last with me.
I won't, because your ignorance is so overwhelming.
See, that's liberals. Y'all start name calling when y'all getting defeated in an argument. No, it's not name calling.
You won't have an argument because you keep cutting me off.
Oh, well, that's fine if they don't let me come back on. I made my point.
You didn't make your point.
I made my point.
You haven't made your point. And let me just tell you about your point. You started off saying, we believe in hard work.
Yeah.
And we believe in being compensated.
Reparations is not, though. Reparations is not hard work. It's stealing. It's Robin Hood.
You said you believe in hard work.
Yes.
And you believe in being compensated for hard work.
Yes.
Were slaves compensated for their work?
They weren't compensated for their work. But why should people who are sitting at home playing video games, smoking marijuana,
are you sitting at home playing a video game? Are you sitting at home playing a video game?
The people that they wanting
reparations for. Am I sitting at home playing a video game? No. And I don't know who these people are that you're talking about, because the majority of the black community is not sitting at home playing video games.
The majority of the black community is doing a lot of things.
Where are you getting that statistic?
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I knew I was going to be surrounded by ignorance, but damn. Let's go. Hello. My hand's wet from the bottle.
My hands are sweaty because I'm nervous. We both got sweaty hands. Okay. So I just wanted clarity because I think it'd be helpful. Mm-hmm. You said radical. I wanted just clarity on that. And then also with the reparations, you said it's not just money, it's other things. I just want to know, like, what do you see as like the grand picture of what would help?
The grand picture of what would help?
Of reparations, like what does that look like to you?
Oh, great. What reparations looks like to me is a combination of reparations and remunerations. And reparations are about repair for damages that have been caused based on harm. Remunerations is a monetary response to work that has not been paid for. So if you come and paint my house and I don't pay you, you can take me to court and get remunerations for the work that you have done. So we're actually owed both in this nation as Black people, and there are incredibly just clear-cut records that show the buying and selling and purchasing of slaves, the work that was done, also the intellectual property that was stolen from slaves, right? Because there was so much inventing that was happening. And there is also quite a bit of other reparations that are being discussed as it relates to property being stolen, as it relates to, again, redlining and the inability for Black people to get loans, et cetera. And these impediments being solely based on their race.
As far as like discrimination?
Yes, like they're being solely based on their race, that not being about anything other than you're black, so you can't, right? And so when it's very clear cut like that, there are very distinctive responses to that can be done through a cash payment, as well as through measures that are being done to create funds for creating resources and responses like housing, like access to food, access to education, et cetera, that certain communities have not had access to because of the fallout from these things.
And I just had a quick question for clarifying. With the funds, I'm wondering, where do you think those should come from? Like the actual money, like is that we're raising money? Is it taxes? Like what does that look like?
Well, I think what they've been doing with these different reparations committees is they're looking at, all right, well, how much has this city or how much has this town or how much has this country gained from the estimated amount that was stolen from these people, right? So they're looking at like, what is this wage amount? For instance, like if you look at during that time, okay, what was the wage amount that a hired worker would get for this same work? All right. And so we're looking at how was that wage not provided and what is that pool that is being created? And then we're looking at, all right, where can that wage come from in terms of how has that wage been applied? So there are spaces where this is very clear. I think the last thing that you asked about was the difference between liberal and radical.
Yeah, please.
Ultimately, the concept of liberalism is really just not Republican, right? I mean, that's essentially what it's become.
I would disagree with that, but I understand that's your stance.
There's a very generic concept of what liberalism is in the sense that it's simply saying that I am a part of the bipartisan mind frame, but I am not a Republican. It's a mindset. It doesn't always show up in action, but it's a mindset that says, you know, I don't support extremes in certain ways, or, you know, I want the government to show up in certain ways. You know, I know there's a conservative point of view that says there should be less government, but even though it just says that, the action is very different. The radical mind state simply is living opposite to our colonizers, which is an imperialist, capitalist mind state, and radical blacks do not believe that that is any way for us to have liberation.
Thank you for explaining that.
And thank you for being very respectful.
We were told to be respectful. We're not your enemies.
Thank you, my good sis.
Surrounded is now a podcast, available wherever you listen. Search Surrounded, plug in, and stay part of the conversation. Anywhere, anytime.
My next claim is that black on black crime is a result of underinvestment and over-policing.
So you say that black on black crime is due to underfunding and overpolicing, essentially.
Yes.
I actually don't necessarily disagree with one of those. Okay. I think that, however, the government, who do you think should be responsible for the funding piece of the black community? Should that be something that the government should step into, or should that be something that we as black people need to handle ourselves? Dr. Jordan Peterson and even Thomas Sowell and several others have stated one thing, that poverty and crime, there's a positive correlation. There's also a positive correlation in the black community of absentee fatherism being one of the root causes leading into criminality. Black males that grew up without a father are 10 times more likely to engage in criminal activity. And so I think one of the...
Can I put a pin right there and ask you a question?
Ask me whatever you like.
What is the root cause of there being less fathers present?
Bad decision-making on the part of the fathers. We live in a patriarchal system. Like it or not, men have dominated the socioeconomic, economic, and political power of this country and the world since our existence. So our bad decision-making, especially when we focus on the black community, is the root cause of fatherlessness.
What type of decisions?
Not marrying the women we decide to lay down and have children with. Not being careful with the seeds that we plant in women. No woman can get pregnant without a man planting his seed inside of her. So therefore...
So it's marriage?
Well, that's a part of it. Marriage is a part of it.
Okay.
But the true piece that I'm looking at is connectedness between familial units. The black community was at its economically strongest while being at its poorest during the segregation era. Prior to 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King in his last speech said that we have an annual income of more than $30 billion a year, which is more than all of the exports of Canada and more than all of the exports of the United States and more than the national budget of Canada. That was when we were economically at our poorest. Yet 85% of our black children were growing up with a father in the home. There was less black on black crime. There was less disenfranchisement.
Why was there less black on black crime?
Because we needed to live together. We had to stick by each other. We had to stick
What
by
was
each
there
other.
also less of?
I'm not sure where you're leading. That's a leading question. I don't like those.
You don't like this?
I don't like leading questions, no. I like direct stuff.
So essentially, when we were living in our own communities, we were also policing our own communities. So we were not being used as statistics in the same way to determine how resources were provided to our own communities. When we were going to the government saying, hey, we deserve because we are supposed to be separate but equal, we weren't saying, hey, we want to be with y'all. We were essentially saying, we want what you are stating we deserve. And that is what all of the efforts of the civil rights movement has been. It's literally just been to say, you said when we got out of the Civil War that we would be considered citizens, and all citizens should be getting equal access to these things. However, you are actively allowing the Klan to harm us. You are actively allowing...
Who's killed more black people, the Klan or us?
I would like to continue my statement. I let you speak uninterrupted.
You did.
When we talk about this concept of who is harming us, we are really making a false claim when it comes to black on black crime, as if there isn't white on white crime. There's also this unnecessary effort to try and pathologize black on black crime in a way that you don't try to pathologize white on white crime. There are white people killing each other every single day. Now, they may be on jet skis in the pictures after they shoot up their whole family, but nonetheless, there are white people killing each other every single day. Now, much of the reason why you may see more numbers in terms of black on black crime are for two reasons. One, the statistics be lying all the time. We have seen
what
this.
Numbers? Okay, when you
we
say
have
that,
seen
no,
this
no,
in a real way.
But I have a
So in
question.
New Jersey.
When you say
So
when
in
you
New
say
Jersey,
that, what numbers can be trusted? Because with the previous speaker, you
I'm
said
about to
statistics all
tell
the
you
time.
right now.
Okay, so your sources can
you
be
can't
trusted.
such number. No, I'm literally about to give you an example of numbers not being able to be trusted.
Okay, talk to me.
That's what I was doing.
I'm listening.
Okay, then listen.
Oh, my ears open.
So listen, in New Jersey,
Uh-huh.
they had a statistic that was created by the police department that said, look at how many black people are committing crimes. Look at how crazy this number is. These black people are so exorbitantly violent. Look at this. And then people went and actually matched the names that they were booking with the faces of the actual people incarcerated. Okay. And it was proven that they were lying.
So that's one instance.
That's
Hold on.
one
No, you're
example.
talking to somebody that works as a police dispatcher when I'm not making content. So here's the thing.
I see.
No. You see what?
Well,
The truth is, you're about to see the truth if you just give me a second. Like Trump said, just give me a second. I'm going to do the weave, but give me a minute.
Well, here's
So
what
when
you all keep doing.
No,
You
just
keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the
But
point
the
that I'm
point
going to
you're-
make.
the point that
and
you're
yet you want
raising-
me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works. So if you want me to keep getting louder, I will do it. But ultimately, if I show you respect, give me the respect back. I let you talk. I let you make your points. I am countering your points. And my points are just as valid as yours, even though you got a pocket square and a Church of Christ pin on your chest.
It's not a Church of Christ. It's
Whatever.
A cross.
It's a cross. Same difference. You got an American flag and you think you know something because you a cop. And ultimately,
Not a cop, dispatcher. There's a difference.
it's ACAB all day over here. So let me make that clear. But let me also add to my point. My point is that you can sit here and blame black people on black people all day long and not acknowledge that we are forced into. You're coming to interrupt me again.
I haven't even said a word.
All right, that is flagged, so I'm gonna ask you to return to your seat.
It's a waste of my time. Y'all just want to be seen. I don't need to be seen. Hello.
How are you? I'm
Yes, hair.
Jasmine, the pretty pig.
Laid.
Say less outfit. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is my thing. I think the premise of your question was black on black crime. So I think I'm coming from a place, and I guess my issue is having had my biological father murdered by a black man, having had my cousin shot in the head by a black man. We can talk numbers and statistics and what the people are doing, what the white man is doing and all that. But at the end of the day, I see when my family lives on the south side of Chicago, and I think you and I both can attest to this, and I'm not saying that there are not other factors, but we know that we kill each other at a disproportionate rate than any other race. Now, why we do that and why 6,000 to 9,000 black men are gonna be homicided or killed or whatever by the end of the year annually by other black men, whereas the likelihood of a black man being killed by a white police officer is less than 150 per year, we know that we kill each other at a higher rate. So I'm not debating that there are not factors at play, but because I've lived the experience as a black woman losing my father to be murdered by a black man, walking down the street
to hear that, by the way.
No worries, thank you. But walking down the street in inner cities and different things, knowing that it's more likely that my own brother will rob and rape me than a white man or a white officer, we gotta be real.
What's your proximity to white men in the south side of Chicago? Are there even white men around to rob and rape you at the same rate that there are black men?
There are white men around.
At the same rate?
There wasn't a lot of black people in there, but then that doesn't justify the fact that we're destroying each other. So even if we get to the root, like
we can agree on that,
okay,
sis.
because I feel like a lot of
Nothing
times liberals will
justifies.
argue like, well,
I'm not
the
a
white people
liberal.
are killing
I am not
people.
alive. I'm not a liberal.
Okay, well, I will say that people that sometimes have your stance that are against conservatives, maybe they have this claim that they're making it up, they're making up the numbers. We know that we do that to each other. So I want to get to the root of the issue. Why are we killing each other?
What is the root of the issue?
I think the root of the issue issue is we've lost our values and we've lost our resilience as Black people. We sit there and we talk about what the white man did and we talk about slavery and everything like that, but we have no self-accountability and say, you know what, at the end of the day, that is my Black grandmother, that is my Black sister, you are my Black sister, and you know that a Black man is more likely to rob you or commit some type of crime against you, and that's what we need to get down to the issue of. And like you were talking about earlier, like, hey, well, what's going on? You know, what do you think the answer is to one of the brothers that were speaking? I think it's the breakdown of the family. I think, like he said, because of our poor choices, and what happens is we look at domestic violence, for example. When domestic violence, women or men are even attacked, what is the first thing we say? It's like, you know what, it's not your what? It's not your fault. So that's what we do. We hold on to this narrative that, well, it's not our fault, and the issues in our community are not our fault, and the white man needs to give us something, the old white lady down the street is looking at me, and I don't know why she got braids in her hair, and we focus on all these other stupid things that don't matter. We don't get to the root of the fact that we're killing each other at a higher rate than any other race. It is self-hatred amongst us, I believe, that we can do that. That we, my cousin, my mom's cousin, excuse me, coming from the church parking lot, and guess who stuck her up and robbed her at gunpoint? A Black man.
I need you to get to the point.
Like,
so
my
I can
point
respond.
is that, no, and I'm not trying to be funny, unless, like you said, we're gonna keep it respectful.
Yeah, but you're monopolizing the whole conversation. And
I'm
we're
not
not
trying.
being
Okay, I'm
able
gonna
to
let you speak, but let's not get the
Yes.
attitudes and stuff, because you're my sister and I respect you. So
I don't have an
talk to
attitude.
them,
I'm being direct to
how
you,
you
but you're
talk to them,
literally
you're not gonna
speaking
talk
this,
to me.
and you're not going to do
Okay.
that with me either.
Okay,
so
so
you're
I'm
stating your
respecting
point,
you.
and you've been stating your point for quite some
So
time.
say
Do you have
the
a
proper
reason
ways,
for
would
me
you
to
like,
respond?
would you allow me to respond? So that's a better response. Go ahead.
The response that I have for you is
Okay.
that everything you're saying does not exist in a vacuum. I actually agree with you in that, yes, there has been an incredible denigration of Black worth and Black pride in this nation. I think it's also very important to acknowledge what has contributed to that. And to state that it is only Black people that have contributed to that is a false flag. So we have to admit that. So in order to have this conversation around how we got here, you can't say, oh, well, we're caring about the white woman getting braids and that doesn't matter and this thing. All of that attaches. All of that is actually a very big part of the lack of worth of Black people.
I'll ask you, do you think we're resilient? What does resilience mean to you? Do you think we have to be perpetual victims, or do you think that Black people are resilient?
I think that those are two different conversations.
How
I think because I think that the concept of Black people being victims is really trying to not provide accountability to where the root problem for the actual cause is. And if we keep saying that somebody is a victim and that doesn't mean that the other person should have to actually have accountability, then what are we really doing? You can do both. You can be a victim and be resilient.
How do we do both if you stay in the victimhood? That's my question.
But your statement about Black people staying in the victim place is also your point of view.
But how do we rise above it?
We continue to rise above it by, one, pouring into our communities with mutual aid, but two, by simultaneously making sure that we are challenging the systems that are in place to impede us. We have so many opportunities where we are trying to do mutual aid, and those things get disrupted by folks who want to have capitalist gain, by folks who want privatization. We used to have all these mom and pop businesses in our communities.
There's over 3 million Black millionaires in America right now. You are an intelligent Black woman that is successful.
That's irrelevant.
No one's stopping me from doing anything. I'm an intelligent Black woman that
Many
graduated and is
efforts have
successful.
tried to stop me from doing what I do. We are not all equal in our capabilities. And we are not all equal in our ability to be invested in by others.
I agree with
we
you.
are
It's
not
like my
all
question
equal
of
in our
resilient.
trauma.
Are we resilient?
We can't say because it is a false equivalency.
I believe that every Black person has resilience.
We
from
keep
slavery
trying,
all the way up
but
to
we
today.
keep trying to cause.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You've been voted out.
First, I want to kind of get rid of this like right left ordeal. I really want to talk about just like our own personal views and what we've experienced, what we've seen. And when it comes to your claim about Black on Black crime, I really do believe, and I think a lot of people here do believe, especially based off of personal experiences and everything, that it is just lack of accountability. In the Black community, we need to start taking responsibility for our actions and stop pointing our fingers at other people and the white man. Because to be honest,
Why can't both happen at the same time?
Because
both are causes.
Because you got to clean your own house before
Both
you
are
go complain.
Why?
Because if
you're dirtying my house, if you keep pouring shit into my house and I'm cleaning it, why can't I do both? Why can't I clean my house and bar the windows from you shitting on my house?
Because it begins with responsibility within us. If we're like, okay, oh, the white person's doing this to me, the white person's doing that, we're not going to ever come to the core of the issue.
They are.
We need to take
responsibility. And it's not even just the white person, because now we have seen very many races, people of very many backgrounds that are actively participating in the effort to keep a working class down. Like that is absolutely a fact. It's not just white people. So I don't attend to that. But I will say the reality of there being systems in place is real. Over-policing is a real thing. You know what's also been really real is the effort of violence interruption in certain communities, right? So we've seen this in Detroit, we've seen this in New York, we've seen this in Baltimore, where there are communities that have said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be like a neighborhood watch for our community. So that before the popo even come, before 12 even rolls up in here, we're gonna actually put ourselves in between the conflict and calm it down. And that has been incredibly effective. But you know what? It's not funded. It's not funded. And you would think that like city councils and mayors and governors would say, shit, you know what? This is going to save us so much money. Because why? Taxpayers keep having to pay for the fault of these police officers. And even though we say, well, only a certain number of people have died, that doesn't dispel the fact that a large amount, more Black people are imprisoned than any other group in this nation. And that is not by accident.
Again, I started with accountability. And it just seemed like not.
But I disagree with you. I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Because here's the thing. Look at our media. Look at rap. Look at what we're glorifying.
You're right.
We're glorifying violence.
Who's we? Wait, who's we? Who's we?
The Black community.
Who controls the
Black community?
Who controls the distribution of these sources of media?
And who takes it in?
And
who takes it in?
Listen, if you're okay, so let me put it in this context. If I have a company, right, and you guys are my employees, and I determine what you get to eat every day, that's also going to determine how you exist in this company, right? Like if you come to work and I say the only thing you can eat is processed foods and fried foods and you're not going to get to have the best vegetables, etc. What's that going to affect? Your health, that's going to affect your ability to operate, etc. This is how the United States operates. There's a lot of us that don't want to admit that as much as accountable as we want to be, all of our brains also don't operate the same way. Some of us are much more apt to be indoctrinated than others. That's a fact. There is a 1% of people that knows this. There's a whole show called Mad Men that's about advertising, etc. And if we don't acknowledge multiple things at the same time, then we simply cannot stop it. We can be as accountable as we want to be. And I hope that if you're right, because I hope you're right, I wish that it was a situation where if Black people could just be accountable, then nothing else would matter. But unfortunately, that hasn't been the case because we have seen when we have Black Wall Street in Tulsa and we have Black Wall Street in Durham, that when we actually do hold our own and build our own communities, they will still come and run it down.
Pause. You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Oh my God.
Joshua.
Hello, Joshua.
Yeah. So I have two claims I want to settle. So I'm originally from New Orleans, right? And I've seen Black on Black crime my whole life, right? Yes. I don't believe it have nothing to deal with the police. It's more with the community because there's a lot of pride that's in that city where to the point where this person can't tell me nothing. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna take him out.
Yeah.
It's that simple in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Now in Cali it's probably the same way, but I feel like every state is different. You probably the way how your belief is might be right? But in New Orleans, it's a little different. Also, my second claim is this: we proclaim so much about Black Lives Matter, but when it comes down to a white person killing a Black person, it's a big deal. It just don't make no sense to me.
Do you know what the statement Black Lives Matter is actually stating?
Yeah, well, just started off from George Floyd.
Start off from Mike Brown.
Mike Brown, okay.
So Black Lives Matter is really simply just stating that when Black people are murdered by the police, that our lives should matter, and that oftentimes it is not considered. It is oftentimes presented as we deserved it, or we must have done something to cause it, and that our lives are disposable. We also don't ever see true justice on the same level as others when the police incur violence against Black people. So Black Lives Matter is a statement asserting that our lives are worth justice, our lives are worth preservation, and we have seen in innumerable instances a level of restraint operated between the police and people of other races that they do not seem to carry with Black people. So that's what Black Lives Matter means. It doesn't mean that anyone else's life doesn't matter. It means that ours matter just as much as their lives.
That's good that you cleared it out for people. Yeah, that's good.
I appreciate you. Now, as it comes to New Orleans, tell me this. Well, first of all, it was, I think it's the senator of Louisiana who literally made a campaign ad, Kennedy it was, that said, do you want Louisiana to be run by crackheads? Like he said that, like straight
they
up.
They have a bunch of them there. Yeah. They
so
do.
Here's my question about New Orleans. Would you say that New Orleans gets, that particular areas of New Orleans, for instance, like the Ninth Ward?
The Ninth Ward is crazy, but I'm just saying, they crazy.
Would you say that funding and attention is dispersed equally across New Orleans in terms of resources? Because I know that from living through Katrina, that is absolutely not the case.
I agree with you in that case. Everybody's not equal when it comes down to resources. For sure, I agree with you.
Here's the thing I want to just impart is that I think that we have a very distorted version of what resiliency and what restorative practice is, because we live in a time where we're seeing so many things happen so fast. So like we've seen technology like advance so fast, right? Like we have seen just our lives shift so fast that I think that we forget that as humans, our ability to recalibrate, to heal from trauma is simply not the same as the things that we are watching in technology. And so we cannot just casually think that people just get over things. Katrina, people in New Orleans are still reeling from Katrina.
Yeah, they are. That's true. That's true.
That
is true.
So when we talk about the amount of crime and violence that is still living and happening explicitly in Katrina, we have to also talk about the amount of trauma, the amount of drug use, the amount of policing, the amount of all of these things that physically harm people across the world, not just in the United States, across the world in communities that are not being served, and how those communities never get the chance to quote unquote pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, I agree. I personally agree. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I agree. Yeah,
that was
for
fun.
sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
No problem.
Hey. Before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand the news, allowing you to dive deep into the topics that matter to you and the world around you. Their work is trying to break the bias bubble, helping you understand how every side of the political spectrum is reporting on a story so you get a full picture of the news. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. They deliver the facts, unbiased, balanced, and designed to make sense of a complex world, getting you the clarity you deserve and news you can trust. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel. You also take advantage of a better way to get the news. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now, let's get into it.
My next claim is systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Hello?
Hello, John.
John Samuel.
Hello, John Samuel. First name. All right.
Blame my parents.
Hi, parents.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way?
Oh, John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe perpetuates that cycle of racism? Redlining? Okay.
Yes.
And how does that, can you elaborate? How is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land. And that inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or a rent, continue to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now, we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves.
Right.
There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where black people had one appraisal when they had their blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their, they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all of those items and put up white people and a dog in the house, and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances. Now, of course, that is just Marin County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to say, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama.
Okay.
That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great-great-grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before. Because before, I would say you do have a little bit of a foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days, when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with us, with those people who are perpetuating these, racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems is just, it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like which system? You're talking about
whether
Congress,
it's the prison
government?
whether it's the prison industrial complex. We're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those systems? So for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans, and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed.
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems. I'm not trying to put
All right,
words in your
guys,
mouth.
I'm so sorry. You have been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord.
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly. You said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, when it comes to guns in the classroom, the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are Black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right, actually, on this aspect. I did actually remember a time where 2 Black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak. And that was interesting. And I found that really insane. considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not gonna put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like if so that's the difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place
But
he actually
after that, people still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem. That's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else. But when it came down to,
if the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic. Because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of a people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying like, okay, if police are gonna act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about, and that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. That's not me making that up. Like, that is actual data.
All right,
so
pause.
systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, how you doing, Amanda? I'm Ryan.
Ryan. Nice
to meet you. Thanks for being here. All right, well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country.
Okay.
Right, we've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful, okay? I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that it's going to be harmful to us. Like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of Blacks. And so,
where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I looked at different clips from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side in that there's different things that are pushing Black people up in ways that are not fair and different things like that. Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based, and where we're in, when there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so, I think that, let's say that there are ways right now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, today in modern times where Black Americans can there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. I believe that all opportunities.
Are you sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have the
again,
same support?
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I can have more
same
support
community
than others.
Support?
I have excellent community support.
That's
Absolutely.
lucky for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grow up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Would you say that low-income white people and low-income black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then.
Sure.
So ultimately, we know that our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay? We know that low-income communities in general are also gonna be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people, okay? So let's start there. When we talk about low income, like the working class black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know, as our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone moving forward. When we talk about DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States as a long history of something. We have a short history, all right? For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans. We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, Black people were then subjected to the Black Laws. The Black Laws were specifically for Black people. The Black Laws incarcerated Black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment because you had Black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long sentences for jaywalking. So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have Black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they are passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure, okay.
All right,
So,
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
all good.
That's flags.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi again.
We cool now?
We good. We good. I think we're on the same. We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist because I've seen too many Black people overcome. And I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting
They are literally twerking and shaking and booty in Nigeria.
Nigerians,